It was the evening of November 24th, 1971, just after 8 p.m. A Boeing 727 cuts through the darkness above the Pacific Northwest. The crew sits in silence. Then a warning light appears. The rear stairway has been activated. The captain calls back. No answer. When they finally open the cabin door, one passenger is gone. His seat is empty. The rear stairway is open. A black clip-on tie is left on the seat, and $200,000 have vanished into the night. No body is found. No parachute is recovered. No confirmed trace of the hijacker is ever discovered. More than 50 years later, one question remains unanswered. Who was the man known as D.B. Cooper? And what happened to him after he disappeared into the storm? Earlier that afternoon, nothing seemed unusual. Portland International Airport was busy. Travelers moved through the terminal. Businessmen hurried toward departing flights. Families prepared for Thanksgiving. Among them was a middle-aged man wearing a dark suit. He appeared calm and ordinary. He walked to the ticket counter and purchased a one-way ticket. The name on the ticket was Dan Cooper, not D.B. Cooper. At the time, he was simply Dan Cooper. Flight 305, Portland to Seattle. Departure time 2:50 p.m. The fare cost $20 and paid in cash. No identification was required. In 1971, commercial air travel was very different. Passengers walked directly onto aircraft. Security screening did not exist. Metal detectors were uncommon, and carry-on bags were rarely inspected. The man boarded the Boeing 727 without attracting attention. He took seat 18C near the rear of the aircraft. A flight attendant later described him as a polite man, perhaps in his mid-40s, around 6 feet tall, with dark hair, dark eyes, and a calm, controlled behavior. Shortly after takeoff, he ordered a bourbon and soda. He lit a cigarette and looked out of the window. The flight carried 36 passengers and 6 crew members. The journey to Seattle was expected to take less than an hour. Everything appeared routine, until Cooper handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She assumed it contained a phone number. That happened often. Businessmen frequently left notes for flight attendants. Cooper leaned slightly toward her. "Miss, you should read that note. I have a bomb." The atmosphere changed instantly. Schaffner unfolded the paper. The message was direct, only a statement. "I have a bomb in my briefcase." Cooper instructed her to sit beside him. She slowly sat beside him. Then he opened the case. Inside were several dynamite sticks, wires, and a battery. The device appeared convincing. Whether it was real remains unknown. He calmly explained his demands: $200,000 in cash, all $20 bills, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. The message was relayed to the cockpit, then to airline management and federal authorities. As Flight 305 continued circling above Seattle, preparations began below. The FBI was notified. Law enforcement scrambled into action. Bank employees gathered ransom money. Parachutes were readied. Vehicles moved into position. Meanwhile, Cooper sat quietly. The passengers remained unaware. Most believed the delay was caused by minor mechanical problems. Few suspected that a hijacker was sitting among them, because by the time the aircraft landed in Seattle, the most dangerous part of Cooper's plan had not even begun. The Boeing 727 touched down in Seattle shortly after 5:30 p.m. Rain covered the runway. Police vehicles remained out of sight. Cooper watched through the window. He missed nothing. Within minutes, his demands began arriving. An agent delivered the ransom money, 10,000 $20 bills, a total of $200,000, and 4 parachutes, including 2 primary parachutes and 2 reserve parachutes, everything Cooper had requested. Only then did he allow the passengers to leave. 36 people stepped off the aircraft. Most had no idea how close they had come to disaster. The flight attendants and pilots remained, and Cooper as well. Most hijackers wanted escape vehicles, safe passage, or political concessions, but Cooper wanted something else. He wanted to fly again. As the aircraft was refueled, he handed instructions to the crew. They were unusually specific. Fly south toward Mexico City. Maintain a low altitude, around 10,000 feet. Keep the speed low, around 200 knots. Leave the landing gear partially deployed. Set the wing flaps to 15 degrees. The pilots objected. Some of the requests pushed the aircraft near operational limits. Eventually, a compromise was reached. The plane would head south. A refueling stop would be made later if necessary. As darkness settled over the Pacific Northwest, Flight 305 took off once more. Rain continued to fall. The conditions outside were terrible. Strong winds, low visibility, freezing temperatures. It was the worst possible environment for a parachute jump. Yet Cooper appeared unconcerned. As the flight continued south, he ordered the remaining flight attendant into the cockpit. Then he closed the cabin door behind her. For the first time, nobody could see what he was doing. At around 8 p.m., a warning light appeared. The rear stairway had been activated. A few minutes later, the crew noticed a change in cabin pressure. Then another signal. The stairs were fully deployed. The aircraft continued through the storm. Then at 8:13 p.m., a sudden movement shook the plane. Not violent, not dramatic, just enough for the pilots to notice. Cooper had jumped. The flight continued for another hour. When the plane finally landed in Reno, Nevada, armed agents stormed aboard. They searched every corner, every seat, but the hijacker was gone. Only a few items remained. Several cigarette butts. Most were later lost. A black clip-on tie, a tie clasp. The largest manhunt in FBI history began immediately. Investigators flooded the suspected jump zone. Helicopters searched forests. Ground teams combed mountains. Divers inspected rivers. Nothing. No body. No parachute. No bag of money. No confirmed trace of Dan Cooper. The FBI named the investigation NORJAC, short for Northwest Hijacking. Thousands of suspects were examined. Hundreds of leads were pursued. Years passed, then decades. The mystery appeared impossible until February 1980. A young boy named Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family along the Columbia River. While digging in the sand, he discovered something unusual: several bundles of cash, decaying, partially buried beneath the surface. Investigators quickly identified the bills. They matched the ransom money. The serial numbers were identical. A total of $5,800 had been recovered. For the first time in years, the case seemed alive again. But the discovery created more questions than answers. How did the money get there? Why was only a tiny portion found? What happened to the remaining $194,200? Researchers spent decades examining the evidence. Some believed Cooper landed successfully and later lost part of the money. Others believed the river carried the bills from elsewhere. Every theory contained problems. Every explanation raised new questions. Meanwhile, the physical evidence remained limited. The black tie was preserved. Investigators recovered microscopic particles from its fabric, tiny traces of rare industrial materials, potential clues about Cooper's occupation, potential clues about his background. Yet none led to a definitive identity. Fingerprints were collected, dozens of them. Still, no match was ever confirmed. The case remained exactly where it had begun. As the years passed, thousands of names entered the investigation. Most were eliminated quickly. A few remained. The first suspect appeared almost immediately. His name was D.B. Cooper. Investigators looked into him shortly after the hijacking. At first, the name seemed promising, but the lead quickly fell apart. The man had no connection to the crime, yet something unexpected happened. A reporter picked up the name. The story spread. And before long, newspapers across the country were calling the hijacker D.B. Cooper. The name stuck, even though the ticket purchased in Portland carried the name Dan Cooper. One of the most discussed suspects was Richard McCoy, a former Army helicopter pilot, a Vietnam veteran, an experienced parachutist. In 1972, less than 5 months after the Cooper hijacking, McCoy carried out a remarkably similar crime. He boarded a Boeing 727, handed a note to a flight attendant, demanded ransom money, requested parachutes, then jumped from the aircraft. The similarities were impossible to ignore. But there was a problem. McCoy looked different, witness descriptions did not match, and evidence suggested he was elsewhere during the Cooper hijacking. The FBI eventually concluded he was not Dan Cooper. Another suspect was Robert Rackstraw, a former Army pilot, highly intelligent, skilled with explosives, skilled with parachutes. Rackstraw's criminal history seemed to fit the profile. For years, independent investigators argued that he was Cooper. Rackstraw denied being Cooper until his death. Over the decades, dozens of additional suspects appeared: engineers, pilots, paratroopers, criminals, even ordinary businessmen. No suspect fit perfectly. The deeper investigators looked, the more elusive Cooper became. Meanwhile, another debate emerged. Did Cooper survive the jump at all? Many experts argued he could not have. The weather was brutal. Temperatures were near freezing. Rain hammered the landscape below. Visibility was almost zero. The terrain consisted of dense forests and rugged wilderness. Cooper jumped at night, into a storm, using equipment he had never used before. Some investigators believed the outcome was obvious. Nobody could survive such conditions. Yet others disagreed. Cooper's demands had been unusually specific. His instructions to the pilots suggested technical knowledge. He knew details about the Boeing 727. He knew details about parachutes. And he appeared calm throughout the entire operation. If he truly understood what he was doing, perhaps he landed safely. The problem is simple: nobody knows. In 2016, the FBI made a decision. The active investigation was officially closed. Resources would be redirected elsewhere. The case would remain open to new evidence. But the manhunt was over. Perhaps Cooper died that night, lost somewhere in the forests of the Pacific Northwest. Or perhaps he survived and walked out of the wilderness, changed his name, returned to ordinary life, and watched the legend grow from a distance. There is evidence supporting both possibilities, and evidence contradicting both. Which brings us back to the question from the beginning: who was the man sitting in seat 18C? The answer may be simpler than we expect. Maybe none of the famous suspects were Cooper, and investigators spent decades chasing the wrong people. More than 50 years have passed since that rainy night. The money is mostly gone. The investigation is closed, and the man known as D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved skyjacker in American aviation history. Only one question remains: will we ever discover who Dan Cooper really was? Or do we prefer the mystery exactly as it is?